What's going on? A to Z Sports. It's Sam Phelan and Easton Freeze here with you live on a Thursday morning. Got a very good packed show here. I don't know if packed, but like insightful show, I would say, Easton, between you and I, because
I think so.
yesterday the Titans had the introductory press conference for new general manager Mike Borgonzi. There was also a side media session that was private, phones allowed, I suppose, but no cameras, no audio. Chad Brinker, president of football operations, sat down and answered a lot of questions, and it got a little heated at times, I would say. So we're going to give those of you tuning in this morning to A to Z Sports a little behind the scenes on what went on inside that room. Easton and I were both sitting down with Chad Brinker. We had a chance to be all over the Titans building yesterday as Mike Borgonzi made his rounds as well. We'll react to some of the hottest storylines in the Titans world, some of our biggest concerns with the organization, and just figure out what you guys want to know. This is going to be an informative show to hear some of your thoughts, some of your feelings, some of your concerns, and then let you know what our take is based on the information that we were able to
answer
gather.
Whatever questions we can. I'd imagine if you weren't there yesterday, you probably have some questions about what exactly went on.
The Titans have obviously been confusing over the past few weeks or so.
No doubt
There's
about
a
that.
lot of concerns and questions out there. So hopefully today we can provide a little bit of insight for you based on our information that we've gathered. So before we get into it, Easton, tell the folks what to do.
They got to like the show this morning. You guys know the deal when it's Sam and I here on the show. Austin lords over us. He is in the back room right now watching and tallying our likes. And if you do not help us get to our like quota, which is an undisclosed number of likes, it's a very high number, trust me. We get fired immediately after the show, and they take back pay. So we'll be left destitute, probably homeless, if you don't like the show for us this morning. So like the show. It's really easy. Hit that thumbs up button underneath our faces on Facebook, on YouTube, and then jump in the comments like Robbie, Kendall, Steven, Chris, Lou Man, Bustin' Diamond, Jay, Donnie, and others, and Austin in there. Like I said, lording over us, watching that like button. Like the show now, as Austin says. That's not a suggestion. That's a threat from Austin to us. So help us out by liking the show. Sam, you are muted.
Yes, I am. I'm already getting chirped too by the chat, and I don't even know. I don't even know, man. I can't even exist anymore without the chat getting on my case. Anyways, welcome in.
I support it, chat.
Let's do it officially. Welcome into A to Z Sports, powered as always by the BetMGM app. I'm Sam Phelan. He's Easton Freeze, Tennessee Titans reporters here at A to Z Sports, Nashville's on-demand sports talk network, going live weekday mornings, 8 Central Time, Facebook, YouTube, Twitch. Links to the show tweeted segment by segment on the Twitter X timeline. You can also check out the TikTok, Instagram, Threads for more Titans content. Got to thank our sponsors this morning. They make it happen for us while helping out all of you. They are Wilson County Hyundai. Make Wilson County Hyundai a part of your new car buying process in Lebanon or at wilsoncountyhyundai.com. Farm Bureau Health Plans, better coverage, better rates, better service. Learn more about a plan for you at fbhp.com/ATOZ. The Bone and Joint Institute, the region's destination for comprehensive orthopedic and sports medicine care. boneandjointtn.org is where to go to schedule your appointment with them. Be part of the solution to end littering at TDOT and visit nobodytrashestennessee.com. And a crash can change your life forever. We're here to help, and only one phone call away at Bart Durham Injury Law. So shout out to all of them for making it happen. Easton, before we dive into everything that happened yesterday at the Titans facility, and all of the information that we gathered, did briefly this morning, just want to also acknowledge what went on in our Nashville community yesterday. Here at A to Z Sports, our hearts go out to all of the families impacted by yesterday's tragedy at Antioch High School. If there's anything we can do to support you, do not hesitate to reach out on any platform and let us know how we can assist you. The situation weighing heavy on our hearts and minds today, and so deserves to be acknowledged before we jump into today's show.
Yeah, absolutely. Unfortunately, in our modern age, it's the kind of thing you see come across the ticker on your TV screen or your phone, and frankly, it's kind of hard not to be a little numb to, and it makes you sick to your stomach that we are as used to that kind of thing as we are, and when it happens in your community, that's the kind of thing that is a little bit more impactful, I think, for those of us here in Nashville, because we are a really small, big town in a way. So really thinking about the folks over in Antioch.
Yes, absolutely. Embiid says, "What happened? Some of us don't live in Nashville." So yesterday in Antioch High School, which is a suburb of Nashville or right outside the Nashville area, there was a shooting yesterday. There, I believe, are 2 students pronounced dead, other students being treated for injuries, and a situation that is being monitored hour by hour here in Nashville news. So, Hearts is right, like Bork says. Just wanted to go ahead and acknowledge that before we jump in. And no swift way for us to transition, I guess, into football talk, but we are going to do it anyway here, Easton, because yesterday we did have Mike Borgonzi's introductory press conference. We also had our private sit down with Chad Brinker. Now, let's go ahead and set the table for exactly what this situation was. You and I got to the Titans facility yesterday, and it was sort of like a group walk over into
It was a field trip. It was
room.
a single file line field trip through the Titans facility. I deemed it rare rooms day for the Titans media because we got to see corners of the facility we're usually banned
we don't
from.
get to go. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we got taken out of our quarters of the media room and got summoned to a different area of the facility. We sat down in the Eddie George conference room.
That's
where
right. A couple of executives up there sitting at a
big long table. We got to sit down, waited for Chad Brinker to show up. Eventually, Chad Brinker arrived, and as there was a very big deal made of the fact that this was a non-video, non-audio recorded press conference, I suppose. I will say, Easton, I loved this a whole lot more than a regular press conference.
Same.
And I will give the Titans credit for this because they took a lot of heat for it when they first announced it, and perhaps it was not communicated in the best way.
It was not communicated in the best way. They blew it.
So, yes, for those of you who were wondering, why are the Titans not having Chad Brinker available for video or audio recording? Well, the explanation for us was, right, Chad Brinker was hoping to address the past with Ryan Carthon, the future with Mike Borgonzi, the search for a new GM, the philosophy of the organization, provide clarity on all of the topics that we all have questions about without becoming the center of attention, without taking away from Mike Borgonzi's press conference. And so that was kind of the purpose of doing it for Chad Brinker. And generally, we tend to find that these media availabilities that are not being live recorded with a phone in your face like this, right? Like those media availabilities tend to be, I find, a little more transparent, a little bit more insightful. So it was very good, very intense. It went for maybe 40 to 45 minutes of Chad Brinker sitting there with Titans media, taking the heat, getting grilled a little bit, and we were getting some answers to some questions. I guess, did you share my sentiment that you enjoyed that part of the day?
Yeah, a couple of things. So you're totally right. And Austin and I talked about this on the show yesterday. Once we found out that Chad Brinker would be at both 10 and 11 a.m. press availabilities, then it all made sense as to why they were doing this.
Yep.
The original sin here was them not having a press conference sometime in the last 2 weeks to address all this. That's where they messed up originally. Where they messed up the second time.
The media advisory should have said Mike Borgonzi and Chad Brinker at the podium for a press conference, and also Chad Brinker's side session beforehand for no video.
So that was the second mistake, was the PR messaging of not making it. Because if Chad had only spoken privately yesterday, then I would have had an issue with that. And I think fans would have had an issue with that, but it's not what happened. And to your point, I when it was announced that it was going to be this way, I was talking to a friend of mine, and I was saying, well, one good thing that may come of this is that we're likely to get some tougher questions and some more transparent answers. And they didn't understand that. They were like, "What? Why? Why would you as media be more incentivized to ask tougher questions in a private setting?" And I guess maybe it's just something that's hard to understand unless you're doing it. But there is something about sitting down, because this was like it was like we were taking a meeting, a business meeting with Chad Brinker
about the future of the Titans.
Right. We're all sitting around in a room just having a conversation like human beings, whereas there's kind of a petting zoo element to our job sometimes when we are shoving microphones and cameras in your face, and everything you say is being, broadcast live. And if you say it, it's out there forever and always, and you can't elaborate on certain things or say, actually strike that part. I misspoke. So it's just more comfortable for everybody involved. And I get it being frustrating if you're not in the room. And like from a selfish standpoint, we enjoy it. Fans probably don't enjoy it as much, but I promise you are getting better information this way.
It's way more transparent, way more conversational. We even do this on a week-to-week basis in the season when we speak to Brian Callahan. Brian Callahan does post-game availability on Sundays. He does, kind of game recap press conferences Monday mornings where he also previews the week ahead. We hear from Brian Callahan on Wednesdays as well. And Brian Callahan gives a little bit of a preview of the next game. Well, we also have a little session of availability with Callahan on Friday afternoons after practice, but that little section is not available for video, really. It's not available for even audio, really. It's more of a gain background information, get quotes for our articles and to inform shows like this. And we tend to find that those Friday afternoon sessions are way more just kind of conversational and give us a lot of insight into Brian Callahan's brain and what he's thinking for the Titans. And I found this to be the same. So yes, we're sitting around this big press conference, rectangular table. Chad Brinker is, I would say it felt very forthcoming and honest. There were things where if he didn't have an answer for it, he did not, lie. He didn't BS.
At one point, he literally said, I'm not sure what I'm supposed to say about that.
I don't know what I'm supposed to say to that.
and the question, if you're wondering, was something along the lines of why Rand needed to be fired and they needed to stay.
Yeah,
right.
It was Buck Rising asked Chad Brinker, why did Rand get fired and everybody else deserved to stay? And Chad said, I don't know what I'm supposed to say to that.
Without saying it, he was essentially saying, because Amy decided so.
Yeah, it's Amy's decision, right? And so that is part of the downside of when your owner doesn't speak, is that you end up with
or show up
these big picture decisions that we don't have any clarity on, that Chad Brinker and even Burke Nihill are not in a good position to answer. But we did get a lot of information. And I would say one of the things, probably the most frequently discussed topic of the day, no shocker to anybody, based on what I've said on this show, based on what I think a lot of people have been whispering about within the Nashville media market, was control of the roster, control of the 53-man, which has been cross-reported everywhere from Brinker has final control to Borgonzi has final say, and really little clarity. And so as we've tried to figure out what this new Titans front office structure looks like, that was a point of emphasis for everybody, I think, in that room and in the Mike Borgonzi press conference. So here's a little bit from the Borgonzi section. This is back when we end up going back to the press conference area. Here's Mike Borgonzi with a little bit of a back and forth with Titans media, talking about 53-man control and why for him it was not a concern.
The 53, it's not a concern. It wasn't a concern in Kansas City. That never came up. There was never a point where we're sitting in the draft room and someone overruled someone because we were taking a player that, the person with the 53 was in charge of. That never happened. We were a collaborative group. We had a cabinet of decision makers there that every move that we made in Kansas City was as a group. So coming here with Chad and knowing Chad, that's the same situation when I was working with Brett. We're going to come and make the best decisions for the team. So it never really crossed my mind.
So then a follow-up, this may be a naive question.
Yeah.
How is this job different from your last job?
Well, I'll have full authority over the free agent process and the draft, whereas Brett had most of that in Kansas City, and I was here to help and assist. And I see this as a great partnership with Chad, and he can help me along the way because he's come up as a scout, and I'm going to lean on him a lot as well.
What does that mean, full authority over free agency? I thought Chad had full authority on the roster.
Well, I have full authority over the process. Now, Chad will break tie if there's ties. He's in charge of the 53, and that's why that is put in there. But I'll have full authority over running the meetings, the draft. I will pick the players.
Mike, when it comes to that #1 overall pick, what have been the early conversations you've had with Chad and staff?
It's early. We just started. The first thing we're talking about is our roster, and then getting down to the Senior Bowl and the East-West actually first. So we're very early in those discussions.
You mentioned that all options are on the table. I imagine same thing in your eyes.
Yes, we're coming into this. I'm coming in with this an open mind. But we're gonna evaluate every situation and make the best decision for us with that pick.
All right, a lot there. Yes,
This is the #1 takeaway from yesterday.
We'll talk about the accent. We got a lot of stuff to get to in that regard. Easton, before we do it, go ahead, tell the folks about Bart Durham.
Yeah, man, our new friends at Bart Durham Injury Law are here to help you if you are in any kind of automobile crash. A crash can change your life forever, and help is only one click away at bartdurham.com. They're now run by Blair Durham, who's a Marine veteran, and they think you deserve to be paid if you're in an accident. Your big truck wreck is their fight for justice. They can be reached at any time, 24/7, to get your legal questions answered at 615-242-9000. They have attorneys available to meet with you whenever and wherever is most convenient to you, including virtually. So visit their website, bartdurham.com, for current news, blogs, and to contact them or live chat. They've been in business since 1975, which means they have half a century of experience handling these things. Check them out, our friends at Bart Durham Injury Law.
BetMGM. They're our friends too, and they're also the sportsbook born in Vegas. Use the bonus code ATOZ Sports when you sign up with BetMGM and get a bonus bet up to $1,500 if your first bet misses. Whatever that first bet wager amount is, you put it into your account. You use that bonus code ATOZ Sports. If your bet loses, all good. You get the money back with a bonus bet, a second chance to win big. So if you're looking to get involved on conference championship weekend here, make sure you're placing those bets with BetMGM, the sportsbook born in Vegas. Okay, yes, accent talk real quick, just because I have to. I did tweet as obviously a joke yesterday, but I said, Mike Borgonzi accent straight out of Good Will Hunting. I think I'm all the way in.
Right. Or The Departed. Yeah.
I simply have no choice. I mean, that is a Southie accent from like kind of.
Did you know he had that accent?
I did.
I did
hear
not
a rumor.
somehow.
I didn't know, but like when you saw that he was like a mass guy that went to an Ivy League school and he was like a fullback. I was like, all right, well,
probably.
I hope he's got some sort of accent here.
This guy's Irish Catholic. It's a wrap. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he even talked to us in the media room afterwards. He's like, yeah, I got an Italian family with Irish Catholic. I'm like, this is so Boston.
Really leaning into the stereotype. This guy's prototypical masshole.
No, it's the best.
It's awesome.
Well, he's not quite to the Ben Affleck but like he's more of that subtle Matt Damon Boston accent. So yeah, how do you like them apples? It got me fired up. I love this. I love Boston accents so much. It really got me fired up. So
that's media coverage, right? That's my kind of journalism.
That's the riveting coverage you come to A to Z Sports for.
That's right. We judge people on their accents.
John Robinson, Rand Carthon, they did not have that cool of an accent. I just want to get that out of the way. So yes, outside of that, a lot of stuff there. Mike Borgonzi, laying it out pretty clearly. And this is what Chad Brinker laid out for us too in our side media session. It was the main thing that he was grilled about was structure and what the deal was. Mike Borgonzi is going to be the guy making these picks.
Yes.
Mike Borgonzi, and this is what Chad told us, was a lot of Mike Borgonzi's job is going to be about roster building. That's what he's here to do. He's going to scout players. He's going to draft players. He is the guy making draft picks. Chad Brinker is the tiebreaker. So does Chad Brinker have the power to override Mike Borgonzi? Yes. Chad Brinker, when asked about that, was kind of like, why would I do that? Why would I do that? Do you guys know my character at all? Why would I override something?
You just don't know me. Yeah.
I mean, the answer is like, correct. We don't, which is why we're asking the question. right. But also it very much made it seem like he has no intention of getting in the way of Mike Borgonzi making these draft picks. Mike Borgonzi is going to be the guy with that power. Borgonzi seemed very confident right there as well when he says, I'm going to be the one picking the players.
Sam, this is so frustrating because I spent yesterday's show blasting this team's ability to message through PR. I already have so far today. I'm going to do it again here. It is, frankly, it's pathetic that I feel like all week I'm having to play PR translator for this team when they are a professional multi-million dollar organization who should be able to handle this kind of thing. The messaging on this has been terrible because the reality, when you and I and everybody walked out of that room, well, most of us, I think, understood the situation here. Sam, can Austin tell you what to write about or what not to write about? Does he have the power to just tell you what to do?
No. I mean,
if he was like, we need this written, Sam.
I mean, if he told me we need to write, like, Austin gives me the freedom to write what I want to do.
Right,
but
but
if he
can
said,
he
I need
tell you to
something
do it?
written, yeah, of course.
Does he?
No.
Because the good bosses empower their people to do their
Right.
damn job. And so this is all this is, right? It is they want a vertical power structure. Amy is Chad's boss. Chad is Mike's boss. Mike is Brian's boss. Technically, the bosses can tell the people under them what to do.
Yeah, I mean,
That's what this is.
It's
They're not
lousy
going to.
messaging in the sense that, like, I think the Titans made too much ado about the fact that Chad Brinker would be the head football guy.
That's my
right?
point.
Like,
They should have just
when
said
they fired
Chad is Mike's boss. That's all they should have said.
When
He's
they
Mike's boss.
when they fired Rand Carthon and there were questions about Chad Brinker's role, it should have been Chad is going to oversee. Because my understanding of it from Chad is that Chad is going to oversee the non-football aspects of being a general manager.
The things he's been doing.
Non-football in the sense that he will be involved in football. Analytics is something that Chad Brinker will be hammering.
Mhm.
Whether
turf management,
there's
security,
new
personnel.
turf that needs to go on the practice field, security. And that's kind of how we had it described to us, right? Is there are so many things that go into a general manager job that it's too much. And honestly, you spread your guy too thin. And the Titans' goal of having Mike Borgonzi and having Chad Brinker is to have one guy who kind of does the vintage version of a GM job, which is just go get players and let Chad Brinker handle the rest. And if that's the case, right, that's fine. But, like, you don't need to tell us Chad Brinker's in charge of the football department. He's in charge of all things football. He's got final control of the roster.
Want to make that the first thing out of your mouths when you fire the last GM. Like it's terrible messaging.
Like your first, that was the message that we got. And then all of a sudden everybody's like, okay, what's the new GM going to do? And now it's a straight up pivot.
Right.
And they're like, no, we didn't mean that. That's overblown.
They are way overcomplicating what was a simple thing. You fire Rand Carthon. Amy comes out and says, Chad is going to be in charge of hiring the new GM. He is going to be the new GM's boss. We're going to have a vertical power structure where Chad is the boss of the GM and the GM is the boss of the coach. End of discussion. It wouldn't have been difficult.
How much hoopla have we heard as well about the new structure, this new unique structure?
It's not new.
Chad Brinker tells us in our media session,
it's not new.
This is the exact same thing that we had with Rand. It's the exact same structure. Nothing has changed from a structural standpoint. We took out Rand. We inserted Mike Borgonzi.
And you know what, Sam? The reason why either consciously or subconsciously, one of the biggest reasons why they made this harder than they needed to make it with the whole new structure thing is because they didn't want to just come out and say, we're not changing a freaking thing about this job. We just don't want Rand doing it anymore.
Yeah.
That's the reality here. That's where we're at is same job, not changing it. They did the whole, because they remember they tried to dance. They were like, well, the job's really changed from what it was when we hired Rand to do it. Incorrect. I mean, maybe it has a little bit in the sense that they've bifurcated the responsitions, but Rand did job last year. They decided they no longer want him doing this job.
Maybe when you hired Rand as the general manager, you did not intend for him to be in this like all football all the time sort of thing, because I do believe a lot of Rand's strengths involve, networking, building, building culture and stuff within the building and running an organization on a broad scale, right? I do think those are some of Rand's strengths. And maybe over time you started to think, well, Chad can also do those things. We want our GM really focused on the football analysis and talent evaluation. And then you had Rand doing that and you didn't feel like it went well. You didn't feel like he was best suited for the job. So you fired him, you moved on, you brought in Mike Borgonzi. But yeah, it's like, I almost feel like duped a little bit where we've been told about this new structure for a few days. And I was very intrigued at what this new structure could could include for the Titans, what it would involve. And then now here we are finding out, yeah, no, nothing's new. Nothing is new whatsoever. Like, so.
Well, and that's the bottom line for this is a whole conversation we maybe can have another day. But the reality of what, and Austin and I talked about this yesterday. It's part of the thing that I wanted to come away from yesterday sure about, and I did come away sure about it. Was the firing of Rand about making this team better in the future, or was it about Amy feeling like somebody's head needed to roll? It is clear to me, Sam, that it is clear to me that this team changed their GM in the past 2 weeks more as a reactionary move than a proactive move to make the team better. It felt like somebody needed to be punished, and I choose Rand.
I would have to think about it a little bit more.
Okay.
That's not what we're here to talk about.
Noodle
Today,
on that.
But it is, I mean, it is an interesting thought for sure. Let's get to our question here before we kind of move it along. Want to ask the chat their thoughts. So after everything Easton and I have told you, what is your concern level about the Titans' power structure after learning more clarity from the press conference? 1 to 10, give us those concern levels for the Titans' power structure moving forward. So let us know in the chat. And while you guys do that, I'm going to tell all of you about our friends over at T-Dot. Be part of the solution to end littering. Did you know that there are over 88 million pieces of litter on Tennessee's roadways right now? It's a big problem, but we can all be part of the solution. T-Dot spends over $23 million each year cleaning up litter, but they cannot do it alone. You can help by making simple changes. Stop littering, pick up litter when you see it, and join local cleanups because every action counts. Tennessee needs all of us to step up, so be part of the solution today. Visit nobodytrashestennessee.com to get involved and see how you can make a difference.
Of course, we're also brought to you by BetMGM, the sportsbook born in Vegas. Sign up today using our bonus code right there on the screen, ATOZ Sports, to get up to $1,500 back in bonus bets. Sam, championship weekend coming up here. A couple of great games on Sunday. Can't wait to bet on those, and I'll be doing it over with our friends at BetMGM, the sportsbook born in Vegas.
All right. Yes. Sorry. I'm trying to avoid. Let's see if I
the
can.
glare.
Yeah, we would like these blinds are a day-to-day struggle for me. So I guess we can just
the sun is actively creeping up your face as we go.
Yeah, I mean I've been moving, I've been shifting blinds, can't exactly. Here we go.
Let me introduce you to this thing called curtains.
Well, yes, but hang on. All right, everybody brace yourselves.
Bracing.
Oh.
What happened?
Slight change.
Better? Okay.
Maybe better, maybe worse.
We'll figure it out.
We're here either way. We're gonna power through. All right. Asked you guys 1 through 10. What is your concern level about the Titans' power structure after learning more clarity from the press conference? Easton, would you like to go to the chat and see what the people are saying?
You know what? I would like to go to the chat and see what the people are saying. Their concern level out of 10, and I'm seeing a wide variety of numbers here. Big Lou saying 1, not concerned. Steven, opposite, 8. Rather concerned. Riding the fence, get off the fence there, if I could pronounce your name. A 0 from Eric, not concerned at all. Toff, hashtag QJ, not concerned. John Moreland, also marginally concerned. IR Hoshi. Curtis, a little bit more concerned than not. Wait, is one is not concerned, right? Am I right about this? Are we?
Yeah,
assuming?
I would say
Okay.
1 is not concerned.
Okay.
10 is maximum level of
We
concern.
probably should have clarified that because Corey, I think, means a 10 here, that the front office is a disaster. 3.89, very scientific answer from Darius. So the majority of people here seem to be on the less concerned side of things. Sam, is that where you fall on this question?
I do. I would probably put myself at a 3. Because I think I lean more not concerned than concerned. So I mean, whatever. So 10 is maximum concern level. 1 is minimum concern level. I'm at like a 3. Concern about the front office to me is not concern about the structure. I do think the structure is relatively sound and makes sense. Whether or not it works, I have no idea. Whether or not I trust Amy to actually, stick with this and not just fire somebody, that's a separate conversation. This individual structure, I think, could very well, work. Here's why I'm not at like a 1 or a 0, as I think I just figured out a great solution to this.
Enjoying the
saga
of lighting.
Let's go.
Here.
We're slightly back.
This is better.
Yep, I just blocked the one area that
there's just one dot on your face that we'll just ignore. We'll ignore it. It's all right.
All right. Yeah,
Little spotlight.
here's why I'm not at a 0 concern level or a 1 concern level. We heard from Mike Borgonzi that Chad Brinker was a tiebreaker. Let's play that again real quick right at the very beginning of this clip.
The 53, it's not a concern. It wasn't a concern in Kansas City. That never came up. There was never a point where we're sitting in the draft room and someone overruled someone because we were taking a player that, the person with the 53 was in charge of. That never happened. We were a collaborative group. We had a cabinet of decision makers there that every move that we made in Kansas City was as a group. So coming here with Chad and knowing Chad, that's the same situation when I was working with Brett. We're going to come and make the best decisions for the team. So it never really crossed my mind.
So then, a follow-up, this may be a naive question.
Yeah.
How is this job different from your last job?
Well, I'll have full authority over the free agent process and the draft, whereas Brett had most of that in Kansas City, and I was here to help and assist. And I see this as a great partnership with Chad, and he can help me along the way because he's come up as a scout, and I'm going to lean on him a lot as well.
What does that mean, full authority over free agency? I thought Chad had full authority on the roster.
Well, I have full authority over the process. Now, Chad will break tie if there's ties. He's in charge.
So there you go. That's he says, I have full authority. Chad will break ties. My question was, break a tie between who? If Mike Borgonzi's the guy, right? If Mike Borgonzi's he's in charge of picking the players, who's Chad breaking the tie between? Himself and Mike? So then it means that if Mike Borgonzi has an idea of, hey, I want, player A, Chad Brinker says, well, I want player B. All right, well, now we've got a tie. All right, I'm going to decide I want player B. Like, that to me is where the idea of Chad having final roster control, it's not needed. It doesn't make a lot of sense. I suppose it is literally just for what you said, the idea of instilling I'm his boss. But we can do that without the whole roster control thing.
Sure.
Chad even said in our media availability with him that he didn't want it. I asked Chad, I said, Chad, you say that Mike's responsibility, you want him hammering this roster out. You want him working all on the roster. Why then do you feel it's important for you to maintain final control of the roster? And he said, well, I didn't want it. That's what Amy wanted.
That was one of the things that I perked up. I go, oh.
The
way he said it, he goes, well, first of all, let's make one thing clear.
I never asked for this.
I did not ask for this.
So a lot of this stuff I feel like is just them trying to explain what Amy wanted to be the case or whatever.
Explain the wishes of the person that didn't show up
yesterday. Maybe it's
right
if Callahan is seeing something one way and Borgonzi seeing something another way, and the scouts have some disagreements between them, and there's maybe Mike Borgonzi then just has authority to say, we're getting my guy, but maybe they do rely on Chad a little bit to just break this tie. So I lean more towards not concerned. I do believe Chad when Chad says he did not want.
I believe that part maybe more than I believe anything else he said.
Chad saying, I didn't want this.
Yeah.
I believe that 100%. So yeah, some of this is just what Amy's going to do.
I think that's a fair question on your part. Let me throw this out there. And I think there are different ways that a tie might need to be broken. One that I think is maybe a little underrated in this process that in the sense that we don't talk about it a ton is, the scouting staff and the coaching staff work in harmony as best they can. And throughout this process, they do a lot of things together. They're out there on the road together as much as they can. They're at these all-star games and the combine together. And the scouting staff will tell you all about how their job is to try to serve the coaching staff and get them the guys that the coaches need, because they're the ones actually out there doing the thing and scheming them up and knowing these players.
Yeah.
But I do think especially in the draft process, there are some times when I don't, this is the first example that came to mind, and I don't want to I'm not trying to be mean or anything, but when you have a situation, perhaps like last year, when Tyke Tolbert goes down to Tulane and he just falls in love with Jaquan Jackson, the scouting staff, when they look at the Jaquan Jackson profile they have, are going to say, well, here are the numbers on the guy. Here's the production. Here's what he thinks he's good at. And not to put down a player that I do think, like, I think he's an NFL player that has the ability to take a step with the right circumstances. I'm not trying to write off Jaquan Jackson forever and always, but what I am going to say is, I think through the coach's eyes of going down there and getting their hands on him and just agnostic of his production, looking at the guy at his pro day, and the scouting staff saying, well, here are the numbers and here's the tape and here's the track record. It's different. And so there's going to be disagreements like that. And I think it's the boss at the top of the football operations job to say, let's parse through these two different things and decide what we think is more valuable. And I'll break the tie in that way.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think the hope for Chad and for the whole Titans front office would be that Chad's not really making decisions, that he's involved in the process, but that Mike Borgonzi's able to, direct and be the one that breaks those ties, even between the scouting staff and the coaching staff, two groups that he overseas. So that was one question. That's why I'm kind of at a 3. But I think, with this clarity, I will say credit to the Titans. They did what I asked for, what you asked for, what I think a lot of fans were asking for. I feel pretty well informed about the structure of things. We're going to pivot a little bit here, Easton, to the rest of the Mike Borgonzi press conference. I want to hear what your biggest takeaway was. We're going to hear what my biggest takeaway was as well. And so let's ask the chat. If you tuned into the Mike Borgonzi press conference, if you were lurking on Twitter, if you watched the YouTube video, whatever it was, let us know from the day yesterday about anything. What was your biggest takeaway from the Titans Mike Borgonzi introductory press conference? We're going to talk about all of them, give you some of our thoughts on them as well. And while you guys let us know, I'm going to let you know about Farm Bureau Health Plans. There's a takeaway for you, is just how great Farm Bureau Health Plans is and how much you need them in your life. They've got better coverage, better rates, better service. Learn more about a plan for you at fbhp.com/ATOZ. Farm Bureau Health Plans has been serving Tennesseans for over 75 years. And while a lot has changed in Tennessee over the years, like head coaches and general managers, some stuff has stayed the same. Farm Bureau Health Plans has always valued personal relationships, especially when it comes to good health and good service. Plan on Farm Bureau Health Plans for health, dental, and vision. So for better rates, better coverage, better service, go to fbhp.com/ATOZ or walk into one of their 200 plus locations across the state.
We're also brought to you by BetMGM, the sportsbook born in Vegas. Use our bonus code ATOZ Sports when you sign up to bet this weekend on the NFL championship games. They're going to give you up to $1,500 back in bonus bets if your first bet does not cash. So go crazy on that first one. See what happens. You might get rich in a hurry over at BetMGM, the sportsbook born in Vegas.
All right, let's get to some of the takeaways here. What was your biggest takeaway from the Titans Mike Borgonzi introductory press conference? Easton, what do you think here? Should we go to the chat? Should we go to you and me? What do you feel?
Let me go first because my answer is the worst. I feel like I've already kind of shared my biggest takeaway, and it's just that the power structure is fine and normal and actually not that complicated, and the Titans messaging has been really poor the last 2 weeks. But you
were granted, to your credit, man, you were all over the fact that you thought this job was more attractive. I don't blame myself for feeling like this job was unattractive because I do feel like the Titans messaging partially contributed to not understanding what they were actually looking for. Like they made it seem like they were looking for a slave GM to just kind of do whatever Chad says. I'm like, right. Who would want to just come and just be the errand boy for Chad Brinker? Absolutely not.
Well, and I can only take partial credit because that was my reaction as well the first 2 days of it. And then I had some conversations and thought about it and wrote an article that I think was a little tomorrow's headlines today. Because if you read that article from me from about a week ago about how this job is way more attractive than people are making it out to be, there were some things that were said yesterday that felt quote for quote from my article. So I'll take a small victory lap on that one.
Yeah, no, you were on it. So that's your takeaway. We can go ahead and get to. Well, do you have something to?
No, I was curious if you have one that we've not heard because at some point in our pre-show meeting, you had something that you kept from me, and
I do have one to talk about. I talked about it a little bit yesterday. We definitely have to talk about it, but let's. So, my biggest takeaway from Chad Brinker and some of the stuff that I read through the tea leaves as Chad Brinker was going through his media session with us, and he was kind of talking about a few different things. At one point, Easton, he mentioned, in the future, we're just going to have to say no to some things and, say yes to others and decide when we need to say no and say yes. I was kind of like, that was kind of a peculiar quote. He later on says the words
there.
I mean, later on, he says, we were not as disciplined with Rand Carthon here as we needed to be in some areas. That got my ears perking up as well. We were not as disciplined. So I felt like I knew, what Chad was referring to, but I went ahead and just asked him point blank, Chad, disciplined how? What exactly are you talking about? Like, what things do you need to say no to? Because the last question of our little media availability, I was able to sneak it in, and I'm really glad I did, because Chad Brinker let us know the Titans are going to be, or need to be, more selective in free agency. That was one of the big things that he said is, if we're getting veterans and we're paying these guys, we need to be careful which ones we're paying. We need to make sure we're getting guys that are good leaders in here. He very much expressed the importance of guys like Jeffrey Simmons and Harold Landry to me. And Chad said, there is a difference between a Jeffrey Simmons and a Harold Landry and a veteran that you pay. When you have a superstar that you draft, you develop, and you pay, there's a sense of loyalty that those guys have to the Tennessee Titans where they want to bust it throughout the full season. Yeah. He loved the way that Jeff and Harold played out the rest of the season and just like gave a bunch of effort, down the stretch of the season. I kind of got that he didn't feel that way about a lot of the guys that the Titans paid last year. Guys that maybe did not bust it, did not have that same Titans loyalty. I think it was
not all of them. I will hear no Tony Pollard slander. That guy busted it, and they paid that guy. Take him out of the equation.
I think, I think they were not too happy with the turnout of their big spending in free agency last offseason. I think Chad Brinker now knows that, you can't build a team through free agency. You have to build a team through the draft and through developing, and then supplement with some role players and complementary guys. But the Titans want their stars to come through the draft. They do not want to have their stars be free agent acquisitions. Here's more from Mike Borgonzi on it and why my takeaway, the Titans are going to spend a whole lot less in free agency than you might be used to them spending.
We're going to be a draft and develop team, but we're certainly going to, have our hand in free agency at some points, but you have to be disciplined and smart with it. I think it's important to fill for role players, and guys that are good locker room guys. And when you have a young team, those are the type of guys you need. And like I talked about before, that's what we did in Kansas City when we weren't a very good football team. We brought in some tough veteran, smart guys that could really change the room. And guys like Anthony Fasano and Mike DeVito. I think those are the things we're probably going to be looking at.
Mike, you mentioned.
I'll answer your question. I know you asked me as well. Big, fast, smart, tough football players love winning more than anything else, right? But when it comes to building the roster, of course, we want to be big and tough in the trenches. You want speed on the outside. But the question you're asking about the smart and toughness part, that's when we get with the coaching staff. That's part of roster building. You figure out what positions are the ones that you can get away with a little bit less. And that's something, the conversation we will have with Brian Callahan, we'll have with Denard Wilson on the defensive side of the ball, where maybe if you can't find the complete package, what are those positions where we can get away, or where we actually need someone who is just a smart, tough, gritty football player. But there's other positions that you have to have the speed, you have to have the explosiveness, you have to have the size and the length to affect the game that way.
So, you hear Mike Borgonzi says, we're going to have our hand in free agency with an interesting caveat there. We're going to have our hand in free agency to supplement with role players and good locker room guys. I find it hilarious, one, with the accent that we just talked about, that the guy, he's like, with Fasano and DeVito. And we brought Fasano and DeVito in. Yeah. But genuinely, Anthony Fasano, Titans legend, 2 years in Kansas City as a tight end, had 40 catches and 400 yards over 2 seasons. Total role player, good locker room guy, well-rounded tight end, not moving the needle. Mike DeVito played 3 years in Kansas City. He was a defensive end. He had, 19 starts over 3 seasons. He had 3 sacks. He's these are role player guys. These are rotational pieces. These are good locker room guys. You need them, but I think the tone of free agency, Titans fans are not going to be getting the free agency of we're bringing in Calvin Ridley and Tony Pollard and Kenneth Murray, and we're making a splash here and a splash there, and we're trading for L'Jarius Sneed. I don't think that's what this is going to look like under Mike Borgonzi.
Yeah, I think you're right. And, you talk about going away from what Titans fans are used to in terms of free agent spending. Really, it's just going back to what they used to be. They got kind of on a sugar rush the past couple of years. And this is one of the off-season topics that, I'm going to do some deep diving into probably and write some articles and talk to some people smarter than me. The way that they spent last year, I understand it felt gratuitous. It felt like a sugar rush, doing too much. They also had to spend the money to an extent, and they also had to go and get some real players to an extent because of how destitute their roster was from a draft and develop standpoint. So I'm curious, like Monday morning quarterbacking it, what exactly they should have done different. And I'm sure that there are some answers there, and maybe that, you spend less than you did, but
yeah, I think the answer to that would be, you look back and like the Titans were obviously very far from competing when they were making those offseason moves. And you not only just signed guys, but you did sign a bunch of long-term deals, or at least a handful. I mean, you committed money to guys like Kenneth Murray and Calvin Ridley and L'Jarius Sneed on long-term contracts.
And I think Kenneth's the only one you regret, to be honest.
Huh?
I think Kenneth is the only one of those contracts
I
you
think
regret
the
the term
Sneed
of
contract is gross.
Listen, I get it. Talking to people in the building the past 2 weeks, one of the biggest random things that has really caught my attention is how none of them are fazed by. They're like, when he comes back next year, he's going to be awesome. We're not worried about it. They might be super wrong. But they're not worried about it. So he's going to be circled on my to watch list next year, because if he comes back and is that dude next year, if he is that, then we're not going to worry about it, right? If it's a lot like this year, then obviously disaster of a contract, huge leverage next year, depending on how he plays.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think, you obviously 1-year deals are 1-year deals. Okay, go spend your money on 1-year deals,
right,
and then it's gone. Nobody cares about that. But it's do you overcommit to some players for longer term contracts because you're more desperate to win now? And that's the message that I would have for Titans fans right now, as far as my takeaway from this press conference is, I don't expect a super active headliner offseason for the Titans. I don't expect them to be in the mix
in free agency.
Yeah. I mean, I don't expect them to
draft,
be
yes.
The draft. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't expect them to be in the mix for T. Higgins if he's available in free agency. No. I don't expect them to be playing for some of those top names. I don't think they're interested in it. So that's going to be frustrating when you're 3-14. Patience is difficult for a fan, especially for a fan of I want to get this thing turned around now.
Mm-hmm.
I do not believe the Titans are going to try and compete in 2025. I think if they find their way to some wins with a better young roster and a quarterback that elevates them, sure. But this is not going to be a Washington Commanders where you draft a guy and you're a top spender and you bring in a bunch of these veterans to supplement your roster. I think they're going to try and get young, get cheap, try and develop. Whatever wins come from that, the wins come from that. But it's going to be a less aggressive approach than Titans fans are probably ready.
You didn't have me at first. You roped me in by the end of that.
Well, of course they're going to try and they want to win football games. They're not going to try and tank. But I don't think this is going to be a full-fledged attack to go take back the AFC South next year.
It's not an F them picks offseason approach where it's we're all in, chips to the middle of the table is what you're saying. Yeah.
I think they're far more likely to go younger.
Yeah.
Potentially trade back in some areas to assemble more picks, spend less in free agency, I think they're more likely to give a Jarvis Brownlee Jr. a chance to play than they would to develop him, than they would be to sign a cornerback because they need a guy to plug and play immediately. And I think that goes for a lot of positions across the board. So
yeah, a little healthy eating for the Titans. No more junk food this year.
Yes, that was my biggest takeaway. Let's see. Let me scroll up a ways real quick. Let's see if I can get to some of your guys' biggest takeaways so we can react to them. We have, yeah, here we go. So what was your biggest takeaway? We've got, he is from Boston. We've got that accent. Same.
Yeah.
Synergy from Matt. Let's see. We've got finding the generational player and growing the team through the draft, not for agency. So the generational player thing is interesting, Easton. What do you make of it? The quote from Chad Brinker, it was, I believe he said it both times.
Twice.
Was we are not going to pass on a generational player in the draft. That's something that we're not going to do. We're not in the business of doing that.
Yeah.
What do you make?
I think we might both be writing about this today, but what I'm going to write about on this topic is that the obvious thing you saw from every national talking head that picked up on that quote yesterday on your Twitter feed was, well, the only guy that fits this bill is Travis Hunter. It's not one of the quarterbacks. It's true, and it's obvious. The less obvious part of this is that this early in the game, the reason why a team like the Titans, who are in the position to have the most leverage in the draft, say that kind of thing twice, intentional messaging, is that you recognize, if you're the Titans, aside from the quarterbacks, which may have the allure to bring somebody up to overpay for the first overall pick, the only other guy in this class that comes close to that allure is Travis Hunter. And so if we message early on that, hey, if we think this guy's awesome, we're just going to take him, and another team really wants him, that's when they come knocking and are desperate and do something stupid. So that's it's a leverage play to me, is what it is.
I mean, that's interesting. I can see that. That's not how I interpreted it. I thought it was very honest. But the question to me is there a generational player? Right?
No,
no. I don't. Right, but I don't think any front office is in the business of being like, we identify you as a generational talent, and now we're going to trade out of the pick. right? It's like if you also the word generational player or generational talent is like maybe the most overused phrase in sports right now. People are like, oh, you need to find that generational talent quarterback. Like, where's my generational talent at quarterback? Like, dog, they're I had this conversation with you, Easton, before you were with A to Z Sports. It was this time last year, and I got so frustrated at this idea of, well, go get the generational quarterback. If everybody could, they would. Dude, not everybody has Patrick Mahomes sitting around. There's not a Patrick Mahomes in every draft. Matter of fact,
Patrick was not a generational prospect.
There's one Patrick Mahomes in 25 drafts. They're generational quite literally means the best prospect or best player of a 20-year period.
Yeah, I think there have been five. I think there have been 5 generational prospects in the last 20 years. I saw people going back and talking about it. It was like Andrew Luck, arguably Saquon Barkley.
You could argue like Joe Burrow.
I mean, I don't know if I'd put him in that tier.
I think Joe Burrow was in that can't miss quarterback.
Can't miss, yes, but that's below generational to me.
Yeah.
Who else? Like an edge rusher. I'm totally blanking on the guy's name. Browns. Hello.
Mike Parsons or no, Myles Garrett. Yeah,
Myles Garrett is probably one of them. And then beyond that, it's like.
No, I mean, the idea of a generational talent is like, this guy's a surefire Hall of Famer. Like, he's going to come in. He's going to be like LeBron is a generational.
We have not seen this in a prospect in the last decade.
LeBron is a generational talent. And he's what I define as generational talent, is a guy who at 17 years old at St. Vincent St. Mary's High School is pegged as the chosen one. Yes. And then he gets drafted first overall, and he's the chosen one.
Yeah, I need you on magazine covers in your teens,
and
please.
But I mean, it's like, this guy's gonna be awesome. Like Wembanyama, potentially generational talent, a guy who everybody looked at and said, this guy is quite literally an alien. That we're nicknaming him the Alien, and he comes in and he's an all-star immediately, and he changes a franchise. The problem is, between LeBron James and Victor Wembanyama, there were 20 NBA first-round picks that were highly thought of prospects that were not generational talents. And the same thing goes in the NFL. So if the Titans identify somebody in this draft as a franchise changer, as an absolute can't-miss headliner, gotta have him, they're going to take him. Do they have one of those guys? We don't know. And I'm not sure I didn't. So it did not affect to me at all what I felt like they were going to do in the draft at all.
To me, in the last 20 years, it's Andrew Luck, Myles Garrett. One I forgot. I just remembered not Calvin Ridley. Goodness, Calvin Johnson definitely was a generational talent out of Georgia Tech, and then maybe Saquon. Like that's.
I don't
That's
remember enough
listening.
about Calvin Johnson coming out of college though.
I don't personally remember it, but I've gone back and looked. I mean, it was
can't miss type stuff. Yeah,
you'd never seen anything like it. Yeah.
But I mean, for like Kyle Pitts was supposed to be a generational tight end prospect, like one of the best tight end prospects we've ever seen. That was gonna end like womp womp, like
thousand yard rookie season.
Yeah, he did.
Downhill from there.
Turns out it was Brock Bowers all along.
That's right.
Curtis says
people raked Arthur Smith over the coals for using Titans legends down there in Atlanta at tight end over Kyle Pitts, but turns out sometimes the coach just knows.
Curtis says very knowledgeable and easy to listen to. He likes Borgonzi so far. I would second that. I think he was a pretty personable guy, pretty easy to listen to talk about football, instilled a lot of confidence in people listening for sure.
Yeah.
Let's see. Hashtag QJ says Chad shouldn't be there. Borgonzi should run everything. That's his main takeaway.
I think Chad kind of feels that way too.
I think there's an argument.
Everything.
No disrespect to Chad. I do think there's an argument for this. Like, I think, the same way that you asked the question, why did Rand deserve to go and you deserve to stay? And he doesn't have an answer. I can't give you an answer on that either. It's puzzling. And the answer is just, that's what Amy wanted. And
I think the answer is that Chad is and was fundamental to the operation of the Titans. The operation
in a way that doesn't involve football, and in a way that like Amy finds the organization runs smoother and easier with Chad overseeing the analytics department and doing a lot of these other things that she doesn't want the general manager doing, and the Titans don't want the general manager doing. So should Borgonzi run everything from a football perspective? Yes. And I think Chad shouldn't be. Should he be involved? Sure. Hear his opinion, especially with his analytics knowledge, right?
Totally.
Like, weighing injury concern and different things like that. He should be involved in the process, but Mike Borgonzi should be running everything. If that's your takeaway, I would tend to agree. And I tend to think that it's skewing more that way, like that he's going to be your guy making these picks.
Yep.
Let's see. We're trying to emulate the Chiefs structure, which I think
not a bad thing to try to emulate.
Not a bad thing at all to try and do. Can you do it? Difficult, of course. Those are some of the main takeaways from the availability. Easton, anything else, I guess, to add here?
I do not. I think we have some teasing to do in terms of a more interesting interview, in my humble opinion, and then we'll play some trivia.
All right. Well, we're going to go ahead and get that teaser done. Before we get that teaser done, I'm going to tell everybody about, maybe where we hope a couple Titans players are not headed this year, which is the Bone and Joint Institute. Let's not send anybody to the Bone and Joint Institute if we can help it. I mean, if you need to go somewhere, you go to the Bone and Joint Institute.
We want Bone and Joint to close because they have no customers.
No,
not what we're saying here.
We want the Bone
not Titans players.
We want the Titans players to stay healthy, and if they were doing like their training and stuff with the Bone and Joint Institute, and turn over the health and safety of the Titans players to the Bone and Joint Institute. That's my opinion.
There it is.
The region's destination for comprehensive orthopedic and sports medicine care. boneandjointtn.org. It's whenever you get hurt in life, like this is who to trust. This is where to go to. The Bone and Joint Institute is located in Franklin. It's right off the highway, easy to get to. Over a dozen specialists who can help you through any type of injury. A state-of-the-art rehab facility as well on campus. So let's get L'Jarius Sneed in there ASAP, maybe get him back on the field. They can do it all under one roof for your convenience. Clinic, testing, imaging, surgery, rehab. Schedule an appointment at boneandjointtn.org.
We're also brought to you by BetMGM, the sportsbook born in Vegas. Sign up using our bonus code ATOZ Sports to get up to $1,500 back in bonus bets if your first bet does not cash. That's BetMGM, the sportsbook born in Vegas.
All right, Easton, we have sports trivia to get to, but before we do that, we have a teaser. Would you like to take it away and tell the folks how we're teasing them?
I would, and first I'd like to apologize for all of the teasing. Don't be mad at us. This interview with Callahan that I did was recorded, all 90 minutes of it on Monday. If I could have given it to you the minute we ended, I would have. Unfortunately, the Titans decided to dance around with when they wanted to schedule their GM thing.
Yeah.
And what a bad, here's some media 101 for you. Drop a massive project that you've spent months working on in a private interview with the head coach right on top of a team introducing their new GM. Great way to get that buried in the news cycle. So tomorrow morning, Friday morning, in place of this morning show right here, same place, same time, we'll be running all 90 minutes of that.
So we will not be live tomorrow.
We will not be live. We will be running the interview with Brian Callahan and I in full.
That being said, right, so we will not be live in the sense that Easton and I will not be talking on the microphone to all of you. You will not be seeing our beautiful faces, but you will, however, be needing to check out A to Z Sports appointment scheduling as usual, but like 8, 10 a.m., whatever.
Frankly,
it is.
a better show tomorroall morning than what you're typically used to. So don't miss this one.
You're
I can
on
say it because
okay?
I'm in it. You don't have to agree with me. I can say it though.
No, but tomorrow must check out as we premiere it live in the morning. Easton sits down for 90 minutes with the head coach of the Titans, and
I've too long. We're saying
I've seen it. I've watched the whole thing through. There's a lot that you're going to want to check out about this. Easton did ask all of the difficult questions. He tried to be the voice of the fans as best as he could and ask some of the things that we know are hot on your mind. That was important to us here at A to Z to make sure that when we have opportunities to sit down with the head coach and we have an extended interview, that we're asking all of the things that the fans want to know first and foremost. So check it out tomorrow morning, right around this time, I guess. Yeah. Well, it'll be going live around 8:10 a.m.
But hey, Sam, the good news is that you don't have to wait for all of it, because on Tuesday, if you missed it, we ran an article on A2Zsports.com with a 4-minute clip from that where Brian Callahan explained his perception of the power structure, the utility of it, why it's set up the way that it is. He explained how he thinks the Titans are kind of ahead of the curve in the way that they're setting things up. So you can go and check out that article on A2Zsports.com and watch that video clip in the article. Today, you're getting 2 more articles like that. One is already out. I ran one this morning that is, in my opinion, probably the crown jewel of the entire interview. I found this answer from him the most interesting, and we're going to play a segment of that for you now. Now, there's more to this clip on the article, which you can go and read at A2Zsports.com. The headline of that article is Brian Callahan. That's incorrect. That's not the headline. The headline is, wait for it, Brian Callahan's quarterback trait that, quote, separates the great ones that Titans will look for in the 2025 NFL draft. I think it is a really insightful nugget as to what he is looking for in his next quarterback. And here's about 3 minutes of a 10-minute clip that you can watch all of on that article right now. Well, this pertains to Will, but it's also just a general question. Mm-hmm. When you misevaluate a player, how does that, as an evaluator, how does that affect how you look at the position going forward? Is it something where you maybe have to guard against swinging too far the other way? Does it radicalize you against certain things? How does that affect your ability to move forward and find somebody that will work for something?
Well, I think you got to find. I think you're looking more for particular traits, and one of the biggest ones that I see right now, and the ones that good quarterbacks I've been around is. It's going to sound a little bit strange, but what's their nervous system like? What is it? What do they look like when things break down? How do they operate when the pocket is muddy? How do they operate under critical duress and critical pressure? Those are the things that I look at. And how does their brain essentially respond? How does their body respond to those stressors? I think a really good example of what incredible poise and calmness looks like is just you watch Jaden Daniels play.
First name that came to my mind when you said
the moment's never too big for him. Yeah. Pressure never rattles him. He's efficient in his movement. He's efficient in his delivery. That's kind of what I mean by that. And look, Jaden is turning out to be what might be an incredibly rare prospect that, I would say probably, look, he was taken 2nd overall. So like nobody missed on him. You know what I mean?
Right.
They knew he was a good player, but I'm just saying he was, I think he's exceeded whatever expectations a lot of people maybe had of him. And it's been kind of cool to watch as a fan of quarterback play. But his poise is incredible. And that's what you have to have. And then you watch the great players in our league. And I mean, you look at Mahomes and Burrow and Allen and Lamar. I mean, you watch these guys play ball, Stafford. there's something about how they operate. And like I said, their nervous system is a huge part of that. And then there's three things that I always look at, and it's decision making, timing, and accuracy. That's quarterback play in the NFL, and you have to be able to, when those moments come where you have to throw the football, and everyone in the stadium knows you have to throw the football. Can you do it? Can you make those throws in those big moments? And that's what separates, I think, all the quarterbacks in the league, the great ones from the guys that are just good. And that's what you look for, is how does their nervous system work under pressure, and can they make good decisions? Can they throw on time? And most importantly, are they accurate? And I think you see that in the quarterbacks that are all still playing right now. But that's how I look at the position, and I think those are the most important things you look for when you're looking at it.
Great stuff there. Certainly a lot that we can break down over the next few weeks and months as we preview the NFL draft, talking about the nervous system, which I thought was really interesting. So more on that in Easton's article, which is out right now on AtoZSports.com. Go check that out. And then once again, make sure you are tuned in tomorrow morning for the A to Z Sports morning show, which is really going to be that interview that Easton had with Brian Callahan. Okay, let's wrap up here this morning. Let's go ahead and get to sports trivia. Where's my video at? Da, 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 da. There it is. We got there eventually. Sports trivia. It's brought to you by our friends over at Wilson County Hyundai. Make Wilson County Hyundai a part of your new car buying process in Lebanon, or at wilsoncountyhyundai.com. Easton, do you have trivia locked and loaded, ready to roll this morning?
I do. Hit it.
All right. Well, hang on. Maybe. There we go. All right. There's all kinds of trivia graphics. Let's do it.
All right. There we go.
There we go.
MLB in here, and Sam is here to help. I'm feeling good about this.
An MLB question. All right. Well, let's go NFL, go around the horn. Let's end it with celebrity mashup, I suppose.
Yeah.
I've got my chat ready to roll.
Walk in, chat. Here we go.
Do it.
NFL. This team has made multiple NFC Championship appearances since 2000, including a 41-0 blowout over the Vikings in 2001.
This is the Giants.
Giants, right?
Kerry Collins and the Giants. They lost to Trent Dilfer in the Super Bowl.
That sounds right to me.
Yeah, it's the year after the Titans. So,
along with reigning France, Napoleon Bonaparte named himself king of what European nation from 1805 to 1814? Ooh, I watched the Napoleon movie like a year ago too. I should know this. Is it Italy? It's the right area. It's the right region.
That'd be my guess.
Chad, you got any for sure things on where Napoleon claimed
with reigning for? I mean, king
France,
of what European nation?
Besides France, we knew that he was.
I mean, unless it's like Belgium or something, it wouldn't be Germany.
It's something in the Mediterranean region, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I think it's Mediterranean, so it wouldn't be like Luxembourg. It would be Italy or something like that.
Let's go with France, or let's go with Italy and see. Nailed it. Perfect. Originally a Fox sitcom from 12 to 15, this series followed a female OBGYN trying to balance work and personal life in New York. No idea.
I don't know the name of it. It's the one with Mindy Kaling.
Yeah.
No idea what the name of it is.
Is it the Mindy Project? It's not the Mindy Project, is it?
I have no idea.
The Class?
The Class.
Mindy?
Yeah, Mindy Kaling.
I mean, Mindy Kaling's biggest hit was the Mindy Project, and it was around that
then
time.
Maybe that's it. Matt says the Mindy Project. Roll with it. Whatever.
Cool. All right.
Yeah, okay.
Jim Sturgis joins an MIT blackjack team led by Kevin Spacey in this 2008 heist drama featuring Kate Bosworth and Lawrence Fishburne. I know it. I've seen it.
21.
What?
21.
Okay, I was about to say, I do not know the name of it.
Good movie.
It is a good movie. I've not seen it in a long time. But when you touch me like this and you hold me like that, I just have to admit that our lyrics from
like this, you hold me like that.
What's the name of the song again?
It's all coming back to me now.
All coming back? Is that what?
Something like that. It's something.
It's all coming back to me now.
Yeah.
In restaurants, bottomless steak fries, tavern burgers, towering onion rings, and campfire sauce are items served by what sit-down
Red
chain?
Robin.
Red Robin. I've not been to a Red Robin, and I couldn't tell you how long.
Robin.
Yum. What Ivy League school did Jeremy Lin play at for most?
Harvard.
And Harvard. Harvard University.
Shout out Mike Borgonzi.
That's right. This twin second baseman launched 167 home runs from 12 to 18, including 42 dingers in 16 alone. Samuel?
This is Brian Dozier, Dozier.
All right. Shout out Brian. Here we go. I know the lady.
Yeah, it's
she's in the Christmas episode of The Bear.
Jamie Lee Curtis.
Curtis, yeah.
And who's the guy? I zoom in a little bit. Chat, we need help on the guy. I have no idea.
I'm not sure who this dude is.
Close that ad. Get that ad out of here. No,
it won't let me. Be gone. Okay, whatever. NPA. That's not Neil Patrick Harris. That's way too old to be Neil Patrick Harris.
It's a big nose.
Who is this?
Kelsey Grammer.
Bob Barker?
No, I can see kind of Bob Barker, but I don't think that's Bob Barker's nose. Kelsey Grammer could be. Mick Jagger could be.
Whoops.
Orlando now says Grammer. We're getting a lot of Kelsey Grammer. So try Kelsey Grammer and Jamie Lee Curtis. I'm not sure I even know who Kelsey Grammer is.
I know the name and nothing about that person.
Yeah.
All right. Is this go away? Is this it? Okay.
Yeah.
Hello. All right. Hey, there we go.
Not bad. 401.
We should have trusted our gut on some of these. We could have shaved some real time off of there.
Yeah, I think we waited a little, but you know what? Good work.
Better safe than sorry.
Keith
we'll take
Frazier.
those.
See, this is. Let's not comment on that because that's age. He plays Frazier in the show Frasier, but Easton.
Yeah,
we've never seen Frasier. We're
another thing. Speaking of things I know the name of and nothing else about them is.
Listen,
Frasier.
I don't know when Frasier aired. I don't even know when Frasier aired. Let's look at real quick. Yeah, 1993 sitcom. Okay, bro. No chance.
Did it end before we were born? Perhaps.
We don't need to age ourselves for the people.
I like aging ourselves for the people because it makes them all feel old.
Yeah, that is true too. I'm
actually 18.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, Frasier didn't have that one in our bag, but I knew the name. Kelsey Grammer?
Kelsey Grammer. Again, heard the name for sure.
Again, thought it was
nothing
a woman
about them
for most of my life
until a moment ago. I thought that it was a woman. Yeah.
Oh, okay, all right. No, I did realize like a little bit ago, but I also get it mixed up. This is gonna be really embarrassing.
Okay,
who's the person married to the Kardashian mom?
Oh, I know who you're talking about.
I always got it mixed up. Why can I not remember her name either? That's crazy.
Her name's not Kardashian though, right? It's
Jenner, Kris Jenner. So Kris Jenner's husband.
I'm looking it up.
Corey Gamble. Yeah, I always mix up Corey Gamble with Kelsey Grammer, and
I know less about Corey Gamble than I do Kelsey Grammer.
I know Corey Gamble, but for whatever reason, I always associated the name Kelsey Grammer with Corey Gamble. So that's
why?
Really,
what do they have to do with each other?
Just
your brain being weird. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's the same sounds. Kelsey Grammer, Corey Gamble, me not knowing a ton about them, that always had me associate themselves.
Well, if 2 minutes ago you'd asked me, what do you know about Kelsey Grammer? I'd have said, I'm not sure who that lady is. So,
yes. Well, all right,
that's
all right. Super chat real quick before we head out the door. Anetta said, with the check money coming in,
we love your check money, Anetta. Thank you.
And a decent reminder here, just to once again, just express our thoughts and know that it's weighing heavy on our heart to acknowledge once again the tragedy of Antioch High School. So, Anetta, thank you for the support. We'll never understand the mass shooting thing. We won't either. It's a difficult thing to wrap our brains around for you and for people who live here. Caleb, $5 just cuz. Appreciate that.
Shout out Caleb. A man of few words, Caleb.
Jeffrey Gonzalez said 1000% resign NWI, no excuses.
Hey, this will be a top.
This will be a topic.
You're writing about this, right? Yeah.
Am I writing about this?
I thought you claimed this. If you want to, you can write it. Somebody's writing about this.
We're going to have to talk about this. Somebody's
writing.
Be a topic that's not going to go away as free agency closes in here, does NWI come back?
Oh no, I'm talking about what Brian Callahan said about NWI.
Oh, I'm
Remember
not ready about that. Yeah, but
Oh, okay.
this will be in there. So
It's
you
in
know,
there.
again tomorrow.
Check it out.
All right, that's all for us this morning. Thanks for tuning in once again. Easton sits down with Brian Callahan tomorrow morning for a 90-minute interview in place of our morning show. You don't want to miss it, so go check that out right here. Same spot that you normally catch us, but it will just be going live in place of our show. Like the show before you go. It helps us out so that we don't get fired. We appreciate you guys. As always, keep it locked on A to Z Sports for all your Titans content. We will see you later.